What have you done for me lately, Nick? What have you done for me lately?
He just beat him
in
the second to last game of the season. Go ahead.
I don't remember. I don't recall.
You know where we start this morning. Game 5, Western Conference Finals last night. Clippers down 3-1 to the Suns. That's your team. Both of them are your teams, Brandon. Clippers facing elimination yet again. And Paul George said, oh, not on my watch, you know. PG-13 with a night to remember. How about his stat line? 41, 13, and 6. And 30 points in the second half. As the Clippers get a win they needed to get, they force a Game 6 back in L.A. in front of their home crowd Wednesday night. After the game, Playoff P was asked about the criticism he's been getting this postseason. If he thinks he's singled out more than any other star. Take a listen.
I do, and it's the honest truth. It's a fact, but I can't worry about that. It's comes with the job, I guess. But you know, it is what it is. You know, I still try to go and dominate, whether I'm shooting the ball well or not shooting the ball well. I still try to dominate just the whole game in general. To me, it doesn't come down to just scoring. It's just being able to play both ends, rebound, and make plays for others. And so I'm beyond that. You know what I mean? I'm beyond that. I am who I am. I wish I could shoot 80%, 75% on a nightly basis, but it's not realistic. But what I can do is do everything else. And so it is what it is. They can judge me on what they want to. That part don't matter to me. I'm gonna go out there and hoop and give everything I got.
Paul George keeping it real right after that win. Brandon, what did you make of Paul George's game and also of his comments afterwards?
Well, the game was super impressive, right? This could possibly go down as one of the biggest moments of his career if he goes out there and get it done. I don't see them getting it done coming back against this team. I thought CP3 was going to do more in an elimination game. He didn't. But as far as his comments, I disagree with him. You know, you're in the big boy league right now, right? NBA, NFL. That's what comes with the territories, the criticism. He hasn't performed at a high level in those key moments. We're talking about when the game is on the line or the season's on the line. So that's what comes with it. Now, has the media gone too far? Absolutely. A lot of times we place these professional athletes in these bubbles and we approach them or we talk about them as if they're invisible or if they're superheroes, but they're not. They're human just like everyone else. They bleed just like everyone else. So it has gone a little too far, but there's so many other people out there that have carried this torch, sat in this position, sat on this platform and been criticized a little bit too far. LeBron James is one of those guys. And then you go to the NFL, there's so many. You got Lamar Jackson. He's experiencing that now. Colin Kaepernick. So I can go on and on and on, but let's put that to the side because I love how he's taking this this moment right now and ascending to another level. Because you got guys out there like Ben Simmons who, when the lights is on, you know, he's afraid to fail in front of people. And then you have Giannis on the other end of the spectrum like, listen, guys, I hear what you're saying, but I just absolutely don't care. I'm going to continue to shoot the three. I'm going to continue to go to the free throw line and take 15,000 seconds. So he's right in the middle where he's up and down, but he's pretty much playing good ball. So Nick, look, at the end of the day, I'm good. Because my two teams are going head to head, and they're listening to me. The Clippers. I know I picked the Clippers early on. I got off on them a week ago. Yeah. But here's the deal. It was a strategic play. That's what it was. I know these guys watch our show. I know you're a friend of Ty Lue. I know he criticizes you when you get a little too hard and you're down on the Clippers. So my position has always been, if I crush them, they will overcome.
See, I thought you were going to go a different direction. Leave Brandon on camera if you could. I thought you were going to go the Brandon Marshall that abandoned the Clippers. That was hair tied back, tight brain Brandon Marshall. This is now free and loose. Hey, I'm going to be my true self, Brandon Marshall. Forget the corporate censors trying to get me to put my hair back. This is, you're getting House of Athlete podcast, Brandon Marshall, and I'm going to give you the real. And I never fell out of love with the Clippers. That's where I thought you were going to go. Instead, you went motivation, which works as well.
Strategic.
All right, let me say this about Paul George, who Kevin Wildes, our dear friend Kevin Wildes, has been trying to do a one-man campaign nationally for give Paul George his credit, give him his love, stop picking on Paul George.
Right.
Last night was the single greatest playoff game of Paul George's career. And previous to last night, the single greatest playoff game of Paul George's career happened a week and a half ago. Game 5 against Utah in Utah, when everyone thought the Clippers were dead in the water. When it was announced Kawhi was out, he was spectacular. He was even better last night. This postseason, despite all the injuries, we have had a half dozen iconic performances. Dame's 55-point game, Kawhi's Game 6 against the Mavs, Luka's Game 5 against the Clippers, Games 5 and 7 from KD, Game 7 from Giannis. Paul George's game last night is right in line with those performances. Not quite the KD or Giannis games, but damn close. And it was for a guy who in this series, I laid it out yesterday, was shooting 35% to not only do what he did, but do it as efficiently as he did it, was a remarkable turnaround from a team, from a player on a team who's had nothing but remarkable turnarounds. And I know we're going to talk about, you know, the big picture stuff, but in the minutiae, there were a couple minutes in this game, moments in this game, Wildes, where it looked like, okay, this is where the Suns have walked them down and are going to take over. The Suns took a 62-61 lead early in the third. How did the Clippers respond? 10-0, boom. The Suns then, late in the fourth, after being down by 13, got it to 98-94. And before you knew it, the Clippers were back up by 14. So every time they had to answer, every time that crowd in Phoenix Wildes was ready to, you know, explode and have the coronation to the finals start, the Clippers answered. And almost every time Paul George was right at the center of it. So he deserves massive credit. Massive credit for how he played yesterday and for the fact that his team is still playing when most of us didn't think they would be.
Yes, it's been a great day for the Paul George fan club. And granted, I'm getting a lot of letters in, but right now it's just me. So we've got plenty of room on the Paul George bandwagon. So here's the rules of being on the Paul George
I'm with you. Don't forget about me.
Yeah, you've got several memberships scattered throughout the league. So sure, we'll invite you as the auxiliary member, but I'm not going to put you on the board. I'm not going to put you on the board. Just a lot of conflicts of interest for you, but it's okay. All right, so here's the first thing about the Paul George fan club. You have to acknowledge just the truth. And Boogie Cousins was like, I don't know where this is coming from. You're ripping one of the greats. Like, okay, well, it's coming from the fact that the most games shooting 25% or worse in the playoffs history of the NBA. Paul George got 11. Now, the plus side of that is there's a lot of guys also on that list who are great, who are there. Russ is on it, Harden's on it, Iverson's on it, Pippen's on it. Like, sure. But Paul George is sort of the king of the mountain. So there is some warranted criticism. So now that's been addressed. However, Nick, look at this graphic of some great players who are putting up 20 points, 18 straight games. It's Paul George, it's Durant, it's Kobe, and Jordan. Now look, am I swinging the pendulum pretty far? Yes, obviously. But I'm trying to make a point. The Paul George criticism is unwarranted in its extremes. And Brandon, I know you said it's traditional media. I think it's mostly social media. I think people like getting their jokes off and they look around for targets. And it's like, let's take shots at Paul George.
You're probably right there.
The guy is playing great. The question is, if he can win these next 2 games, I think you have to bury all the way off piece stuff forever. If they can pull it off. I don't know if they can.
Well, you
we've
can't.
Seen the Clippers come back and back and back. But go ahead.
You can. It would be a part of. It's a part of his story. It's like LeBron James, right? Like the first couple years before, you know, he went down to Miami, took his talents to Miami. We can't ignore that, and that will be a part of his story. You know, he needed more help, and that's the same thing for Paul George. This will be a part of his story. But before we go, Nick, I just want to say great job to Ty Lue. So all this talk about Paul George,
true.
You got to look at the people surrounding him. So on one end, he talked about his sports psychologist in the bubble. So they're working on things there. And then you got a guy like Ty Lue, who Paul George acknowledged last night. He said